Hey guys, welcome to the Lioness Den. Look, we are so happy that you decided to join us today. This month has been focused on the family, and today is no different. Today we have a family here to share with us family values and how to focus on our family and family relationship. So we're not going to prolong this introduction, but we have the Wilsons here with us today. You've seen the mom, you've seen the dad. Now we get the whole family experience. So we're going to start off with our credits and then get right into it. Hey guys, we're back. And without further ado, I introduce to some and present to others the Wilsons. Hi guys.
Hey,
Hi,
So if you don't mind, would you just introduce yourselves for a moment?
I'm Andre.
Krisha.
I'm AJ.
Gabby.
Hi. The Wilsons are great friends of mine. As you all probably already know, they've been on here quite a few times, at least mom and dad has. And today we have the pleasure of talking to the kids. Guys, this is like the best for me because the world gets to see what I get to see all the time, which is a working family structure. We don't get to see that all the time. I want to start off with something that is probably easy for you guys to talk about, but it is. I was looking down because I wanted to make sure I had my questions lined up right here. I don't want to, you know, so it's easy for you guys because you live this, but the rest of us, we're still trying to get to the place where, we have this cohesive family structure. So I pose this question to Andre and Krisha first. What influenced you guys, and what family structure do you currently believe you have?
So, for me, I didn't have this kind of structure growing up. I had my mom and I grew up with my grandparents. My mom and my dad weren't together. So, one of the things that I wanted to do as it pertains to family for me was to try to create an environment that I felt that I should have had when I was growing up, but I didn't. So, that for me became a mission. It's still a mission to try to create a structure where my children, my wife can identify our own individual roles. While they're individual, they're still unique. And what you see with us is what you get. We are a perfect, imperfect family. I'm done.
Okay, I didn't want to cut you off.
Go ahead. Yeah.
For me, I think our family structure is that which I would call traditional. Mom, dad, two kids, girl and a boy. They don't make no more. We don't have a white picket fence, but we do have a fence, and now we have a dog. So, so, so definitely a tradition in the mindset of mom, dad, kids, pet. My what influenced me, I did not grow up with my dad in the home. I visited him on the weekends, but him and my mom were not together. So my perfect or ideal family came from watching TV, of course. And back when we were growing up, and I'm sure you can relate, the best TV show for the Black family was The Cosby Show. Claire, Cliff, kids, and the show just didn't speak to fun things all the time. It went through things that teenagers go through, the changes in life, the changes in growth. I think it stayed on for 8 years. So that was like what a family could be. So as a child, I was like, I always wanted to be married and I wanted to have kids so I could build part of what I didn't have of having, making sure my kids had a father in the house, and also taking from what my mom gave me and being like the best mom. So my kids can say, like I say about my mom, there's no greater mom than the one I have. So the role I play and the characteristics I possess majority come from looking at my mom and what she did for me and my brother. But desiring the family unit and what I wanted it to look for, a lot of that came from growing up watching the Huxtables.
Yeah, y'all actually do have that Clay and Cliff thing going on a lot of times. It can be funny, but there's always a lesson at the end. Uh, so yeah. Um, let's see here. So Gabby and AJ, what would you guys say your family values are? Don't all talk at once now.
I think one important value of ours is honesty. Mom and dad always talk about, oh, if you have something, don't be afraid, just say it to us. We'll understand, we'll accept it, we'll talk about it. Another one is love. Like, even though if we're mad at each other, there's always a place to go back to.
Oh, that was nice. What about you, AJ?
Mm, I'd probably say protection. You know, our parents always want us to protect each other, watch our back, even when they're not around.
Okay. They, you guys got good kids. They had good answers.
They're on their best
No,
behavior.
no, but seriously, like the protection one is a big thing. So not to veer off, but a lot of kids don't feel protected and they don't know, their parents are not necessarily their protective covering. So for him to use the protection as his word to characterize the value, one of your family values is a good one because, guys, we know so many kids are not taken care of and they're not protected. And so to have two teenagers, so clearly state what the family values are and use the word protection. That's a good one. That was really good. Thank you, AJ. Um, so we have the the Heathcliff and Claire going on. Will AJ be Theo? Just
Yes.
throw that at.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness, would he be Theo? Oh Lord, help us.
Lydia, you know how they have the saying that you have that one child that attests you're gangster.
This
So
this is that one.
this is that one. I love him to life.
Mhm.
But I think AJ is the perfect example of Theo, and if you're talking about other TV shows, we probably could put a conglomerate of other personalities.
Yes.
But it balances us out. Like I said, and I'll pass this back over to you. We are the perfect, imperfect family. Um, Perfect for each other, imperfect in the sense where we still have flaws like any other family. And that keeps us working to become the best that we can for each other.
Understood. So let's say, my next question is, so we have these family values and you guys have set this example. How does the values that your family have help the cohesiveness? Because you actually have teenagers. You have an almost 18-year-old and a 14-year-old. And when kids get to these ages, this is usually where the communication and the cohesiveness of the family starts to break down. So, how do you guys maintain that cohesiveness um, with what Gabby was saying about how at the end there's love, they can always come and talk to you? How did you build that? Because I know a lot of families really want to know how you kept that going.
I think it started at a young age. A lot of things that we instill in them, like started from when they were able to talk and understand what I was saying. So from the time they could hold a clear and concise conversation, we were always saying, no matter what, you can always come and talk to us. We would rather you tell us, good or bad, and we can talk about it, get through it, than you not tell us or hide something from us. And then there are consequences to you not telling and hiding stuff from us. And I think because we started at such a young age, like drilling it into them, at this point in life, they feel more willing to just be open and just tell us everything. Well, most stuff. We think. Right. Right. We think. But I can say, and at times, like, Gabby may feel more comfortable talking to me about certain issues, and AJ may feel more comfortable talking to his dad. And sometimes the topic I want him to go talk to his dad. Let's be clear, some topics I don't want to know about. He's starting to be like, go talk to your father, go talk to your father. And I think we build that to the safe. We wanted our children to have a safe space, and we want us to be their safe space. And we instill in them that no matter what, after you're grown and out of our house, we are still your safe space. And as AJ said, protection, we teach them that we all we got. Now, friends may come along. We have extended family, but at the end of the day, the 4 people in this house is all we have at the end of the day. And we have to have each other back. They sister and brothers, they're teenagers, they fuss back and forth. But at the end of the day, when we look at our kids, we know they love each other. And we know that they do have each other's back. But it came from instilling those principles, that value from a young age. And it starts when they're small. And if you start when they're small, when they become teenagers, it may get on your nerves, but it sticks.
I think for me, what keeps us as a cohesive unit is transparency. There's not too much our children don't know about us. I think a lot of times families try to create a cookie cutter presentation. But as Krisha said, and I piggyback off of that, we started at a young age where we were able to have conversations based upon their maturity level. Now at 17 and 14, there's no limits. Our conversations are raw, very transparent. Because I live by this principle. My children don't need to have a context where they know all of my victories or all of our victories as a married couple. They need to be aware of, not just as a married couple where we have had pitfalls, but as a male and female, because we're raising a male and female teenager. And so as a consequence, I have tried to always instill a level of transparency. My son and daughter know, if you ask me, as uncomfortable as it might make me feel, if you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you, because what I value is, and I know at a certain point, no child will tell all of their secrets or tell all of their stuff. But I have the testimony that I've had both of these 2 teenagers come to me and share stuff that I never would imagine they would share. And I think it's because they understand what's going to keep us together is not that we agree about everything. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes people feel like in order to remain unified, you got to agree about everything. But that's not true. I think their uniqueness, our uniqueness as adults, and we're still growing as adults. They're growing as teenagers. So the transparency piece, they need to know my failures as a teenager myself. They need to know some of the stuff I've gotten myself into. And at the end of the day, I'll leave it at this. I know, because as long as you have humanity, you're going to always have issues. I know my children, I like to call them teenagers, to try to honor and respect them because they're not little children anymore. I know these teenagers are going to do stuff that I am not going to necessarily agree with. I already know they may make decisions that I may not necessarily agree with. I already know that off the bat. I know we may bump heads. We've bumped heads now at the stage where we are with raising them now. But at the end of the day, bump heads, them making decisions that I may not necessarily agree with, making choices that I might second guess, I'm going to have their back because these are my kids. These are my children. And I love them with every fiber of my being. And so that's what keeps us connected. At the end of the day, we can come back together as a father, and I don't want to jump ahead because I don't know what are you going to ask. All of this is unscripted for me and us. But as a father, I understand that they are helping me raise them. There's no manual. There's no instruction manual. Okay, how many books you read? It's different with different personalities, and every family is different. I know what works for us, so that's what I keep working at because it keeps us cohesive.
Absolutely. And you guys, you don't have the manual per se, but I would say that you guys are an example of doing a good job. I think so. AJ and Gabby, what y'all think? They doing all right job?
Sometimes.
If you missed it, the first thing she said was, "Oh, man, okay."
No, I mean, you guys go to school with a lot of kids, okay? And what is the difference that you see in your parents and maybe some of your friends or just schoolmates? I mean, because you're in a house with two parents, and let's be honest, 90% of kids aren't. So, what is the difference that you see between what you know to do and what you see other people do?
Well, at least whatever. At least for me, mom and dad has always been there. Mostly mom would show up. So like if we needed something at school, she would drive us there and pick us up because she would, God forbid, she would allow us to walk or take the bus.
Absolutely.
But she was always there. And even though dad would mostly work all the time, he has a more tighter schedule. He was always there in the background. A lot of my friends personally, their parents aren't together, or if they are very busy. So it's comforting to know that they are both there, but another difference is that my parents are way more protective than others. Like I can't go certain places. My first hangout was literally when I was in 6th grade. So even though sometimes their protection is overbearing, it's nice to know that I at least have that level of protection and security.
Anything to add, AJ?
Gabby kind of just took the words straight out my mouth.
She took all of the words from you.
I won't say all the words. It's, I'm gonna put this. When I see the way other kids act with their parents being split up and not being protective as mine is, it's like Gabby said, it's comforting to know that they just love me enough to protect me from certain things. Like Gabby said, my first hangout was like 7th grade.
Okay.
That was sad. Okay, so all right. I think you can agree that back in the day, for us, it was you can't go anywhere unless I know where you're going. I knew the parent of the child. I've seen the child. I know who's in their household, or you're not going. So, like, I grew up like if it's a grown man in the house that wasn't a family member, you're not going. So, all the homes I stayed over were of my friends who had single moms, and it was just females in the house. So what did I do? Let me tell you. 90% of my parenting came straight from Virginia Louise, my mama. And so when I had kids, what? For Gabby, I ain't met their mama. Who in the house? And so on her first outing, and she didn't spend the night, let's be clear, there were no sleepovers, never sleepovers. You can go to a party where mom and so her friends were really cute. They really wanted her to come so bad that the mother came up and met me at the school after school one day and was like, they really want Gabby to come. And so I went, I dropped her off. I went in, I checked out the surroundings and said, okay, call me when you're ready.
So I want to chime in on this. I think for us now, for example, and thank you for the credit that y'all gave us. Again, I say they help us raise them. I think that our children are at this stage. I know that my daughter said at 7th grade, and my son said at 7th grade, or she said 6th grade, he said 7th grade. But I think compared to other children at this stage, my children are very cultured. It's not too many places that their passport hasn't been. And I think it wasn't strict in the sense of no compromise, but us growing up compared to them, times are different. My mother was very lenient because she knew where I was going. Nowadays, it is so much that these children deal with that our seventh grade and sixth grade is not their seventh grade, sixth grade. Now, my daughter, she's in 12th grade this year. My son is going to high school. I'm gonna be straight with you. My nerves are on edge because it's a different culture. It's not that I don't trust him nearly as much as the environment. That's different. However, at this stage, because he is 14 and she is 17, we try to set expectations. They're able to go out, but there's an expectation. It's like my mother and grandmother used to say, when you leave this house, you wear my name. So whatever decisions or behavior that you choose to display, ultimately is a reflection on me. And so, all in all, it's trying to make sure that if they want to hang out, we have a discussion. It's not straight out no, because I said you can't. No, there are things we want to know for their safety. It's been repeated at least 3 times since we've been talking today. Protection is a big thing for us. And it's not protection in the sense of subjection, but protection in the sense of I am very concerned about your well-being. And so, of course, as they're getting older, we are loosening our grip in regards to their teenagers. Right. They're going to want to hang out, but this is our expectation when you hang out. And we still have that guideline. I need to know the parents of the other teens that you're hanging out with, because everybody don't raise their children the same.
Yep.
Everybody don't have the same rules. It's a certain order that we have to have. My wife mentioned about her mother. Same thing. My mother had a certain expectation. And so I'll end with this. The big thing is communication. As long as we're able to communicate, there's really not much they cannot do. As long as there's communication and expectation, you can go this far. Hey, when you start getting a little too close to the edge, I want you to know that you're free to do it because you have choices. But understand, if you do it, this is the consequence. So you're free to make the decision, but you're not free to choose the consequence as a result of the choice. So the big thing for us is communication.
And if I piggyback off that last part, when we talk to them, we just don't leave the statement of you can make that choice and its consequences and leave it blank. We share with them the consequences of certain choices you make. So it's like, if you do this, here's all the situations. And if we have examples, whether we did it or people we know did it, we use those examples. If we're sitting down watching a show and a certain scenario takes place, we talk about it and say, okay, this is a show, this may be fiction, but this happens in real life. And these are the consequences. And again, as Andre said, when they leave out of our house, will they do it perfect? There's nothing as perfect. Will they do everything we said? Will they make some mistakes and make bad choices? They're human. Of course they will. But our hope is that we've done a good enough job while they were under our roof that even when they make a bad choice, they recognize it really quick and are able to recover.
Can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yep, got you.
I muted myself some type of way. That happens sometimes. Um, but no, it's interesting. I was thinking about how Gabby said, you said sixth grade, Gabby.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you a little funny excerpt. It was about sixth grade when my mom, gave us a little bit more space, and we had this one rule: you do not go to the projects. I don't know if you guys had that rule, Andre and Cretia, but we had that rule that you do not go to the projects. And in Baltimore, downtown, if you went straight down Lombard Street,
Mhm.
you end up at the high rise projects.
That's right.
And so, of course, me and my little, brilliant self, where did I go as soon as I got the freedom to move around without the watchful eye?
Project.
I went straight to the projects because that's where one of my best friends live. Now, staying out of my brains, please understand, that's what I was. Going up in the projects, had never even lived anywhere near the projects, but because I met, somebody in middle school and they lived in the projects, that's where went to their house. I went to the projects one time. She ain't had to tell me not to go again because I was too scared after I got in there. Like, I need to get out of here. I'm not used to it. So sometimes, and that's what I was going to say. You guys have put such values, and it wasn't that my mother did. Mommy, she gave us all of the scenarios, but we used to feel like she exaggerated it. So we would still try stuff. God protected us with all of our extraness, because it's 6 of us and we did a lot of stuff. So, but you guys have done such a great job because they listen and they actually follow. That's one thing that a lot of parents, they don't know how to get the kids to actually follow. It's like, because they know they were strong-willed and they know they are raising themselves. I don't know if you guys see that, but a lot of times parents know that they're raising themselves. And so they know, my mom was strong-willed. My grandmother talked about it. We were strong-willed. I have, as you guys know, a strong-willed daughter. She listens most of the time. Thank God. In front of the Lord. But yeah, and so when you're raising yourself, you're raising someone that's like you.
Mhm.
I'm sure you guys have seen yourself in Gabby and Elaine.
Absolutely. We say all the time, Gabby is, I think both of them are a mixture of the both of us. We can point out characteristics and I say, that's me. And then other times I'll be like, that's your child. That right there is your child. And I think part of acknowledging it and accepting it helps with how we parent, because I can sit back and say, okay, when this was something similar was in my childhood, what did I do? What did my mom say to me? What was my reaction to my mom? And so when I go to have a conversation with either of them, I can say XYZ if I was in that situation. My mom is one of 10. Out of those 10, I have 26 first cousins. And now all of us have children. But trust me, whatever scenario comes up, if I didn't do it, I have a cousin I can use as an example who did do it to share with them. But they both are, both of us, almost half and half, I would say.
I think that, I think for me, and I continue to say they help us raise them, because at the end of the day, it's what you just said. I see myself in both of them. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I will go and react based upon something that one of them do. And I got to put myself in timeout because I can't get upset that I'm looking at myself. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes adults who have children sometimes get amnesia when they go to bring forth some type of correction or express a frustration, and they fail to realize you might be looking at yourself. I think that at the end of the day, what helps them is there are some things, no matter how much guidance and transparency we have with them, and as it relates to our upbringing, the decisions we made, they're going to have to make their own mistakes. they're going to have to make their own decisions and determine, wow, this was what my father and my mother was talking about. But all in all, I see myself in both of them, and it, like I said, it helps me to keep working at being a father to them, because I understand their mother. When it comes to some things, she's going to parent a certain way. When it comes to me, I might parent differently, because I'm judging life from not only how I was raised, but I'm also judging it from a man's perspective. And I can admit there have been times that I have been wrong in my judgment and how I've been rearing. And so I think one of the things, and with this, because it's a lot that you're trying to cover, with both of the children, teenagers, I have humbled myself and gone to them and say, you know what, I need to apologize to you, because I don't ever want to, and I think I'm at the stage now, my children, they call me a crybaby, because both of my children have me wrapped around their finger. I call my son, potato. My son is my absolute heart, and my daughter is my absolute world. And somebody asked me, well, why is your son your absolute heart and your daughter your absolute world? Well, my son is my absolute heart because I need a heart to live with, because that keeps me with life. But I need a world to live in. And so at the end of the day, I guess the older I get, I become more emotional, because I see an extension of what God allowed me to have, because some people don't have what I have. So, yeah. And then to go back to that cohesive thing, around here, with the four of us, if you don't have thick skin, you might be in trouble. Because one of the things that keep us so connected is we will joke on each other. And I think that keeps us lighthearted, because outside these doors, it's all kind of elements.
Yes.
Home for us, they said something that was so true, and not because we told them to say it. That's their experience. It's our safe place. So the good, the bad, and the ugly, indifferent, it's still on safe grounds. It's not on harmful grounds. And so the biggest thing that I say that keeps us cohesive and connected is we joke on each other. I'll say it this way. You have seen up close and personal, behind the scenes, how this rolls. And so it keeps it light. It keeps it just lighthearted. Yeah. And I'll end there so you can go to your next question.
No, that was good. That was good, because this is the thing. People are really trying to figure it out. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure it out. And to have an example, sort of, or just know how somebody else is doing it. Because I know you guys say we are perfectly imperfect, but we all are. Absolutely. We're as perfect as we can be. But when we get together, we're going to be imperfect because we're humans. So that's just the bottom line. But you guys actually have something good going on. And to share it with everyone else, how you did it, it may cause somebody today to say, hey, let me try to see what I can do to get this thing working just a little bit better. Just something, they said they did this. Let me try that with my kids, So I'm going to kind of segue over to Gabby and AJ, because I have, I talk to you guys all the time. You guys are here quite often. But I do want to ask them a few little questions here. So my first question for you guys is, if your family had a motto, what would that motto be?
I'm not sure, because it's like we don't have anything that we just say, and all the core value stuff we say, it comes out in different words. Mom always called us T. Wilson, have a whole bunch of shirts and stuff dedicated to it. So if it was a motto, it would be something about Team Wilson.
It would be something about Team Wilson.
Absolutely.
Now, AJ, you have to tell us something and not tell us what Gabby said, because we don't.
That's been his favorite line.
Right.
Yeah,
What Gabby said.
What Gabby said.
Yeah, we don't really have a motto. We just, it's
Like,
like,
said, what would it be? So, like, you could think of something.
if I could think of something. We ride together, we die together.
Oh my God.
I like that one. That,
Bad boys for life.
There you go.
Bad boys for life.
There you go.
That's it.
see, I knew you had something to say, AJ.
That's it.
There you go. There you go.
Just drop the mic moment.
Yeah, it really was. Y'all told me Gabby was gonna have the drop the mic moment, but AJ just did it.
I ain't mad at you.
That was good. No,
That's
but
the new motto.
That's the motto. We're gonna
but
have to put it on the
again,
wall.
it shows like your cohesiveness and what how it runs through because the kids actually, even though he didn't say it the way you guys just said it, he just said exactly what you guys said a few minutes ago. So that
Speak
was
to his
really
own personality.
mm-hmm.
That's what helps. I think we found our motto along with everything is Team Wilson. But then, for example, I don't know how transparent you want us to be, but I always said this: if it ever came to a scenario, and I preface by saying a scenario, fictional, ladies and gentlemen, where I had to do something and commit a crime, AJ going with me to commit the crime.
I ain't sign up for that.
I'm just using the next example. AJ, because he talking about the ride or die thing. AJ's gonna commit the crime. If it came to Gabrielle being in and testifying or being interrogated, she ain't saying nothing. What you said?
I ain't seen that.
See?
I ain't seen nothing.
And I use that as an example in regards to how connected we really are with all of our quirks and imperfections, that we ride the devil, we together, we die together. We Team Wilson. Again, if I did something, AJ going with me. Mike Fuss, he probably gonna say, "What you doing?" But when it's time to do it, it's gonna do it. The police gonna pull her in interrogation. She don't know nothing, and you can drill her all day. She don't know
She
nothing.
legally blind.
I am a witness that Gabby keeps the poker face all the time. I've never
All
seen
the
Gabby
time.
without that face.
All the time.
Because and it goes back. I think that comes from us being alike. Because it has to be this way around. Because Krisha and AJ will give up. They'll spill it all out.
What? How you gonna throw me on the bus like that?
No, us under the bus.
I'm just saying. Gabby and I.
No, I
We'll
won't
keep
give
it-
it up. I'll
we-
give a creative response that doesn't.
No, and
incriminate
then they gonna know you
anybody.
lying.
She's over there lying.
Then you gonna know they lying. No.
She's over there
The
lying.
imperfect scenario. And Gabby, just because what Gabby said, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is just fiction, but it's
We ain't
just
commit no
the
crime.
mindset that Gabby said. They're gonna know you lying because she gonna fall under the pressure. Gabby and I,
Yeah, she gonna fall on the pressure.
straight face, no sweat, and pass the lie detector test. So, and I'm not advocating lying. Again, this is just
Who's
talking
us?
about
He said both of us will give it up.
Why you gonna put me under the bus like that?
the cohesiveness of our family unit, and so I would hope that everybody can look at their family like you just said, and I wouldn't call us the model family, but I do think that we do have something to offer in regards to knowing this one thing. We're still working at it.
Mhm.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, definitely. We're all still working at it. I mean, this last little segment we were going through actually gives such an example of how you can be a friend and a parent, because that's what you guys look like, friends and parents. And sometimes people say you can't, but just the whole pound thing and that whole segment just now was we agree and we love one another. We good, even though they know where their place is and your place is. So that's it's cool. It's very cool. It's a cool dynamic. which leads me to my next question with AJ and Gabby. What do you appreciate most about your parents? And you can use examples of things that they've done that have gotten you to this point, or your favorite story about them.
You go first.
Yeah, you go first.
You go first.
Yeah,
I
this
gotta
time
go
I've been going
first.
first.
Come on, AJ, you go first.
What do I appreciate about my parents? They're never one to lie to us. No matter what type of conversation we're having, they're just always truthful and they're always gonna love us, even though we might not do the best things at the time.
Oh,
What?
Ooh. He looked at Gabby like it was her.
As I was saying, they're always gonna love us no matter what we do, and I just appreciate that.
You kept it short and simple. I'm appreciative of a lot of things. I'm like you.
Run it down. Run it down. Sis. Run
That's
it down,
about it.
sis.
That's
Yeah.
about it.
Come
I'm
on.
listening.
They give us experience, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the average teenage things. They're like, we go on a vacation every year. Who doesn't want to do that? I'd rather do that than go hang out with some hoodlums, but you know.
Hey, but this vacation we had to pay for it.
Okay, but still.
I just thought $300 on this vacation. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Can we let her talk, please? Thank
Right.
you.
It doesn't matter. They set up an example, and even though they're teaching us responsibility,
Thank you.
AKA we had to pay for the vacation,
Let's make that
not
clear.
the whole vacation.
They didn't pay for the vacation.
We
Let's
paid for
understand.
what we wanted to do on the vacation.
There you
Thank you.
go.
There you
There you
go.
See, we didn't pay for the whole thing.
Yes, you ain't paid for none of the vacation.
Right.
You pay for what you want to
Because
do.
broke
on the
college
vacation.
student is coming. But yeah, they give us experience and they teach us how to manage our everyday life, especially with money and finances. And they've been a big support, especially for me since I'm about to go to college. It's been really nice to have that support system, and although it's not the ideal friends I want to have, it's nice that even though they are my parents, they can be overbearing at sometimes, but they're the typical friends. They give you advice and sometimes can be annoying. So, yes.
Okay.
Love you
Okay.
too.
So, as we pivot a little bit, Christian and Andre, share with us your favorite stories about Gabby and AJ.
I'm listening.
Serious.
Okay. Oh, AJ. So AJ, my darling son, I always say he's the typical boy that I know. I'll put it that way. The typical boy that I know that would rather play, would rather break something, fix something, do something with their hands, break up something, annoy their sister. You tell them to go read a book, not gonna do it.
Mm-mm.
But when you sit down and have a conversation with him, he always has like these intellectual conversations from since he started talking. So one day, well, he had to be like 4, or we're at the dining room table, and Gabby asks us a question. I forgot what her question is. And he was like, because it goes down your esophagus. Duh. I was like, first of all, you don't even know how to spell esophagus at this point. But he has always been that way. You sit and have a conversation. It's something always intellectual, and you just go, do you even know what you're talking about? At this point, most of the time he does. Sometimes it's like, nah. But that's just him. He always has something to say in a conversation. What would be Gabby? Oh, so my little princess. Oh, my little princess. Gabby from 1, probably. She's always had a big personality. She's always been independent. She was our child. We could leave on the bed, put a boppy pillow around her, turn Sprout on, and she would not move. She would not move. She would not cry unless she was wet or hungry. She would sit there all day if you left her there. Unlike AJ, who is an acrobat and was going to find his way out the crib off the bed.
Hey, this
another
is about
story.
me. This is behind.
But she's always been independent, always had a personality. Even so much when she was little, before she could even talk clear, we would go shopping. I would hold up outfits and she would point to the one she wanted. But Gabby has always had this way. She's always been able to read people. So even from a child, you know how people see babies and be like, oh, look at the little baby. Oh, and at the point she was talking, she would still sit there and wouldn't say nothing. You talk about poker face. The poker face has almost been since birth. They would be like, oh, look at the little baby. How old is she? Hi, baby. And she would just look at them. And they would walk away. And she would even roll her eyes and say, I don't like her. That has not changed. She is a teenager. She will hold a casual conversation with you, roll your eyes, and come back home and say, I don't like her.
I think for me, it's a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to narrow it down to one. So AJ, what I love about him, and I think one of my favorite stories is AJ's giving, believe it or not, in the sense of AJ's a very compassionate person. And I remember going in the store with him and they had some homeless person outside. Oh, AJ wasn't having it. AJ wanted to go in the store and get everything that he possibly could to take it to this guy that was outside. And for me, that really pricked my heart, because at the end of the day, I think it is all about giving back to somebody. And for him at that age, and not even that age, even now, at 14, AJ, if he sees somebody less fortunate, that kind of mess with him, because I think he puts himself in that predicament. So that's one of my favorite stories about him. And he couldn't have been no more than about 4 or 5 at that time. Gabrielle. So there's an incident that happened in school. It's my favorite story. It's the incident that happened in school where this boy was bullying her and a couple of her friends. I'm gonna tell the edited version, y'all get it. So her and her friends decided that they weren't gonna take this bullying no more. So Gabby is it goes back to that word again, very, very protective. And she's mild-mannered until you hit that nerve. And then you see, okay, this is what you wanted, I'm gonna give it to you. So this dude, he was bullying her and her friends. He was much bigger than her. So they decided to take matters into their own hand. And what I appreciate about that was, even though all of the parents had to sit down because he was guilty, and they took a different route to stand up for themselves. The reason that it is my favorite story is because Gabby knew to stand up for herself. Not letting anybody railroad over her because they feel like I'm bigger than you and I'm just gonna be mean-spirited. And I have a saying, transparent. I am raising my daughter as a man because I'm the first relationship and the first male that she develops this cohesiveness with. And I have a saying to that point because of standing up for herself. I'm raising my daughter to understand, you don't let a man put his hands on you. You don't let a man put his hands on you. If he does, then make sure he's rendered crippled. Before anything, I'm a father. I'm raising a very independent daughter to let her know it's okay. Gabby went to prom. I set my teenager down on my lap. And I said, okay, so you're going to prom. But if anything ever go down, just know daddy down the street. However, you carry your own phone. You carry your own cash. You carry this pepper spray. This is the world we live in. So these are the conversations I have. I am raising a very independent person, daughter. As much as even with my son, there's an expectation that he gets from his mother about making sure I know it sounds old fashioned, but this chivalry is necessary. How you treat a female. Because at the end of the day, if you treat a female wrong, understand, you have a sister that somebody can do the same thing. So the favorite story was when Gabby stood up for herself, and AJ, the compassion that he had for that homeless guy was embedded in my mind.
Well, I want to tell the audience this. There is a story that I think is one of my funniest stories of knowing you guys. And that's when a teacher bothered Gabby in school. And not her mother, but her father addressed said teacher. And I don't think Gabby had any more trouble. Did you, Gabby? So usually us as moms, we do that school thing. We're the ones, but not this time. Dad took care of it. It was kind of funny because Krisha said, I don't think she has any more trouble now. I think everything is good. And we both laughed about it because I could only imagine Andre's voice talking to this teacher, fixing this issue. And it was just funny just to think of it. So that is one of my favorite Wilson stories. But yeah.
I'll smile at the camera.
You guys are a very inspirational family. I'm glad that I know you on and off the camera.
Likewise.
Sometimes people are one way on the camera and another way behind closed doors, but I've been around you guys for years now, and you're the same everywhere.
You got the edited version. You see
we were on good behavior tonight.
You see how we really roll.
Well, see, you guys were being really good, and then we got a true.
I mean, nonetheless, we're real.
Yeah,
we just,
no.
We don't need true friends first because everybody might not be able to.
No, y'all had a good Wilson's moment. The parents didn't see it, but the kids were having a good time with AJ on Gabby's head and stuff over there behind.
Oh
yeah. So it's been a true Wilson's moment. But I do appreciate you guys for doing this interview. We're just about to close. We're about 50 minutes in. But before we leave, what I really would like is if you guys would just give an inspirational to people who are trying to get there. Just an inspirational message to people who are trying to get there. And then we'll close out. Again, I appreciate you for, coming and joining us today. Along with that, guys, we're having a back to school festival today that's starting in about probably 15 minutes. So if you're watching this, I need you to, as soon as this is over, get in your cars, come out your house, come to 3000 Hillen Road. We're giving away book bags and school supplies. So come and join us. We will be there. We will be hustling and bustling there just like you. So meet us there. That's my shameless plug for the Back to School Festival right now. Along with that, I'm going to do one more shameless plug. And then tomorrow, the Wilsons here, who are the pastors of the Connect Church at 1918 Collinson Avenue, they're having a community cookout. So we're having a fun-filled weekend right now. Please join one of these events. Come out. Get to know us, get to know the Wilsons, and even join the cookout, join the Back to School Festival. Enjoy this weekend with us. As we close, I'm going to turn the floor over to the Wilsons to give their inspirational message, and we will see you next month, the Wilsons.
As we talk, one thing I want to tell parents, whether you're married and a traditional household or a non-traditional household, blended family, I think it's very important, one, to reflect upon your life. Our parenting styles, like I give credit to my mom, and it's because I felt that I had a good childhood growing up. But reflect upon your childhood, good or bad. Reflect upon the experiences you had, because we sometimes don't realize everything we experience growing up. As we become parents, we take all those experiences, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and it forms how we parent. So think about that. Think about yourself as a child. Think about things you did and how your parents may have dealt with it. And sometimes you might need help with that, right? And sometimes you might need a little therapy to process everything you went through as a child so you can become a better parent. What I do is because I can look back at my childhood and realize the things I wish I had I can appreciate the things I did have, and then somehow combine it and attempt to make a better childhood for my kids. So no, there's no manual. We're out here all doing the best that we can. But I do encourage you to really do soul searching, because if you want to be a better parent, if you want your child to live a better life than maybe you did, it starts with understanding and accepting all that you are, all the baggage that comes with you, all the trauma that comes with you, everything through life. Sometimes we want to push it and act like it didn't happen, but we don't realize that subconsciously it has an effect on how we live our life now. So I just encourage parents to take a time to reflect on their life, reflect on their childhood. And if you say, man, if after all your reflection you like, I'm really jacked up, go to counseling and work through that, so that you can not only become a better parent, but you become a better person for you and your children. You can't be there for your children if you're messed up. So I encourage all parents. We're in this together. We're taking it day by day. We're just doing our best, hoping that our children love us for all that we're doing for them. But make sure you take care of self, because if you take care of self, you'll be able to take care of your children that much better.
I would say, first of all, thank you, Lydia. You're an extension of our family, and we are grateful for relationships. So thank you for inviting us to just share for a moment. I want to say to parents that it is necessary, and I'll go back to this transparency piece. It is necessary for transparent, open, honest conversation. A lot of times we look at situations and we see certain dysfunctions, and we want to attack the dysfunction without getting to the root. And a lot of times the dysfunction is as a result of what's deep-seated beneath the surface. And so I encourage every parent to understand that there is a power that we can all experience that transforms our relationships with our children, and vice versa, children with their parents, if there is communication. Be open. A lot of times we are so adamant about getting our point across that we're not receptive to hear feedback. My teenagers give me feedback often, and a lot of times it make me look at them funny, and then sometimes it's just bowling straight down my alley. And so I would encourage parents to understand, as it's been forestated, this is a work in progress. The work will never ever fully be completed, and I'm glad that it won't ever be fully completed, because it gives us an opportunity to continue to work at it. You will not get out of a relationship with children, or parents with children with their parents, or parents with their children, if you're not willing to cultivate that relationship. So every day I am making, because it's a choice, I am making a choice to water the garden of my relationship with my children, because it is necessary. Another thing that I think is so vital, because our context may be different than others, because we are in a house together. Our children have a front row seat as it relates to our relationship. They see our relationship played out on a daily basis. Married 18 years and looking to be married many more. But they get the chance to see when my wife and I may not necessarily agree, but they also see the respect in the fact that even though my mother and my father may not agree on certain principles, at the end of the day, they understand that they have to be united. They have to be one. And so I would encourage parents, as my wife said, if you're in a blended context or if you're not in a blended context. In the case where I didn't have my father in the house. But one thing I did appreciate about my mother, she never allowed me to disrespect my father. And always had the mindset that you reverence and honor your father. So please, parents, please hear your children out. So often we don't want to hear what they have to say. It's that mindset, because I said so. The worst thing that any parent can ever do is destroy that line of communication with their children. So please learn to be receptive, Sometimes we have to humble ourselves so that we can get out of a relationship what you desire. Please keep building. This is not a one day and you got it under your belt. We are endeavoring to build and keep building and keep building. And as long as you keep working at it, hopefully you'll begin to see some type of progress. But just because you see progress, don't get comfortable. Keep working at it.
Hey, thank you, Wilsons. Thank you again. Great information and great inspiration. So thank you guys. Again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. God bless.